issues for Black women and in the Black community. Once again, as a small business owner, I understand and was looking forward to a president who was going to keep investing in us. And right now we have a president who is doing everything to disinvest in Black women and in the Black community. And we know that if Black women don't succeed, this country doesn't succeed. But we know that the state of Michigan is on the front lines, and we have a governor who's moving things forward, and we want to keep that momentum going. So we're going to ask some questions. Let's do it.
Yeah.
All right. So the economic landscape for Black women. So Black women are the highest population that are creating businesses, not only in the state of Michigan, but in the country. So what are we doing to help support that? We know that we have what they call equal pay day for women, and depending on your race that day compared to white men. And this year, I think ours is the Black Queens is in July, right? So there's a day in July that on that day, we would have made equal to what a white man made January 1st, right? So that's serious. We also are talking about home ownership and wealth building. We know that generational wealth helps propel not only us, but our children and our grandchildren in our communities. And what does that look like in the state of Michigan? And then public trust and accountability. I'm a big fan of accountability, which doesn't always make you a popular person, but to have an elected official who welcomes accountability, who is saying, I am doing this for you and for us, and I might not always make the right decision, or I might have questions, and I need some support, is very important. So I am so thankful for that. Did you want to add to any of that?
Well, first, thank you for being here, and thank you all for being here in this critical moment. We're really at the precipice, I think, here in Michigan of being able to do some extraordinary things in this state. But in my view, we can't really do anything if we're not investing in Black women and Black women's leadership and growth, and also investing in generational wealth creation for this community and for communities all around our state. The three pillars of our campaign are costs down, wages up, rights and safety protected. Costs down means working to drive down healthcare costs and energy costs and our electricity bills and housing costs. But we can't make Michigan a place where everyone can afford and thrive if we're not building wealth. And when we think about communities both that have the greatest capacity and opportunity and potential to build wealth, but have been often left out of those conversations where wealth is invested in small business growth and the rest, it's certainly Black women who, when you have a seat at the table, you grow, you thrive, you create, you innovate, you change the nation. But at the same time, if you're not given access to those spaces, to that wealth, you don't have access to be able to grow and prosper, and we all lose out as a result. So my vision for the state of Michigan is making sure it's a state where we're investing in this community, not just ensuring our costs are going down, but that generational wealth is made real. And I'm excited to collaborate with all of you on how we do that. I think small business growth is key to that. And I want to make Michigan the small business capital of the nation. Because why not? We have some of the greatest ideas, innovation, and history here. Why aren't we leading the nation in the creation of our future, of innovation, of small business growth? And I think when we do that, really thinking how we do that with communities who oftentimes aren't at the center of those wealth generation discussions. But man, if we did center our discussions around the Black community, around Black women, how much greater can we be as a state, stronger as a result of those conversations? So that's the type of conversations I want to have as governor, but also investments I want to make. And again, we've seen how investing in Black women's ideas and the ideas of this community can generate not just wealth for an entire community, but also bring our state forward and make us a model for the nation. So that's my hope, that's my vision, but I'm here tonight to listen and to say, how do we do it better? How can we ensure we're showing up? How can we make sure we're investing in these great ideas and bringing wealth to the state to generate real power, real economic power, which is what that economic prosperity is about. Power for communities that need to be at the center of the power so that we are building and lifting for all.
Thank you for that. You know, I do other work too that I will not mention here, but I've been doing some of that work the last couple of weeks. I was in Mississippi, I was in Alabama, and as I'm talking to people about our governor's race, they're like, we like Jocelyn. I'm like, huh? How y'all know her? She's the Secretary of State. they're like, she has been a fighter for civil rights, and whatever that means. And right now, for you, Tamika, it shows up as the Secretary of State. But for us in the civil rights movement, her and her husband have shown up so many ways for so many decades. And I don't think people know that and are aware of that. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I started my career. Well, I should say I went to a women's college, and I actually spent some time at Spelman. I went to Wellesley, and I went to spend some time at Spelman while I was there on an exchange program. It was really transformational for me in opening my eyes to the necessity and responsibility that we all have to invest in communities that have been left out, and to really ensure Black women in particular, when we're talking about gender equity, are at the center of those discussions. So out of that experience, I thought, I want to learn more. I want to be surrounded by the leaders of the past who have helped create transformational change to get us to this moment, like in the civil rights movement. So I actually moved to Montgomery, Alabama after college to start my career. I ended up working in an organization, a civil rights organization, investigating hate crimes around the country. My job was to actually make the connection between a crime and a hateful ideology behind it to ensure real justice was served. And it was also living in Montgomery, spending time, now this was 30 years after, it was the late 90s, so it was about 30 years after the Selma to Montgomery Voting Rights March, just 3 decades. And I was struck by the fact that, by the way, at that point, the mayor of Selma was the very same mayor that blocked Black citizens from voting in 1965. He was still there in the late 90s, serving as mayor. And so it was really impressed upon me the unfinished work of those who come before us. And my question became I said a prayer at the foot of the Edmund Pettus Bridge to just be used however I could be, wherever I was, to continue the work of those who stood on the foot of that bridge and marched forward into a sea of uncertainty and bloodshed, so that we could live in a democracy that lived up to its ideals. And when I think about the unfinished work of the civil rights movement today, it is economic equity, it is economic power, it is economic justice, it is investing in generational wealth for communities that have been far too long kept from access to that wealth. So that's what I'm here to take on as governor now, really looking at, and I've asked all of you, what is that unfinished work? Because I think the eyes of those who come before us are on us now in this historic moment for our country, where we're seeing the growth of chaos and cruelty at the federal level.